See how to configure endpoint tooling upgrade rings in today's Tanium Tech Talk. Well, welcome back to Tanium Tech Talks. I'm your host, Ashley McGlone. You know, one of my favorite things on this show is when we get to demonstrate a new feature that you've been asking for. And this new feature is available for our cloud customers and very soon for on-prem deployments. Now, those of you migrating to Tanium Cloud will love this. And I don't want to give any spoilers though, so let's jump straight into welcoming Danny Hallberg back to the show. So, Danny, for those who don't know who you are, who are you?
Hey, Ashley, thanks for having me. My name is Danny Hallberg. I'm a product manager here at Tanium. I started as a TAM about 5 years ago. I've worked my way up and through the ranks, and I'm really happy to be here. I work with a handful of the core products with client management. I'm working with endpoint configuration, and I've had my hands in a handful of different things throughout the years.
So, what's the problem that we're solving today?
With customers, we found that as with most IT companies and IT services, you have change management requirements. With Tanium, we have modules, and those modules are going to be doing stuff on the actual platform and the back end. However, we still need bits and pieces to work down on the endpoint. So for instance, if you want patches to be installed or patches to be scanned, we need to have tooling to do that. If you want to use threat response and get information about your file system, so index, you need to have a method for us to do that. So those are client extensions. So we have a mix of these tools and these client extensions that need to be installed. So when there's an update, we have to go and install those tools and those client extensions on the endpoints. Well, if we send all of the client extensions or all the tools to all the endpoints at the same time, that tends to violate a lot of the change management policies and processes that IT organizations have. So we've built a piece called change management within endpoint configuration that is designed to help meet those requirements and help you deploy tools in a controlled fashion from a small group of machines up to your entire estate.
You know, when I explain this to folks, I usually say that it's kind of like I use the example like Star Wars Battlefront 2. Like, so you install the game, and maybe that's a little bit dated, right? But you install the game, and then you got DLC for different types of weapons or ships or equipment, things like that. So Tanium is the game, right? And the DLC is the module components. So what you're explaining, if I'm following you here, is that those module components, as they're automatically updated through cloud customer change cycles, we push out those usually on Tuesdays. We push those out, and then it's kind of scheduled in your configuration portal when you want those to come down. So you're telling me that DLC stuff, the downloadable components, we can now begin to schedule that to satisfy change management. Did I follow that?
Yeah, actually, DLC is a great analogy. We are adding additional functionality as part of these tools. So being able to control the deployment of that so that you don't have all that new functionality, all those new tools go out to everything at the same time helps you test and be sure that what we're installing isn't going to affect your systems at all.
This sounds like a complicated problem to solve. I'm just thinking about the permutations of all the different modules that have shared tooling behind them and so forth. So how did we solve this?
The biggest challenge that we had to do was add additional backward compatibility for tooling and modules. And that was our biggest challenge. The actual deployment and configuration of this is fairly simple. We already know how to control tool versions with endpoint configuration. So all we did was we added the ability to have a particular set of versions applied to a set of machines.
So I apologize for interrupting. So I'm trying to follow here. So you're talking about backward compatibility. So that means like I'm just thinking like for on-prem customers, particularly who understand this model. So they manually upgrade their modules, but then all the tooling on the endpoints is suddenly out of date. So if I follow you, you're saying that tooling on the server
Yep.
can support the older tooling on the endpoints until it gets the update to the endpoint. Is that what
Correct.
I just want to make sure I'm tracking.
Yep. Yeah. So we're not going to support new features, but we will support the previous things that work. We're not going to make that break.
Yeah. So the server's upgraded in the cloud. And now as the tooling comes down to the endpoints, those new features just begin to light up and that nothing breaks. That's the
Yep.
idea. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. So, where can people go to see this in the console?
Well, first off, let me show you how to find the information about it. If you're in the Tanium Resource Center, you can search for Endpoint Tools, and you'll see Managing Endpoint Tool Upgrade Rollouts. This is an article that kind of explains how to do all the things you need to within ECM. But from the console, once you've logged in as an admin, you're going to go to shared services and then to endpoint configuration. Once this loads, you can click on the three dot menu and go to change management. So within change management, this is where you start to see rings. And what is this? What do all these mean? A ring is our methodology for taking and being able to deploy to a small group and growing from there. Kind of compare this to, I think you had Jason Wasser on talking about patch deployment rings. So if we think about that same mindset of I want to deploy these tools to a set of known machines, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 50, that I know where they are. I know who can test them. People know that these are there and they're not necessarily going to break if something does go on them. You can start your test. Once you've completed that test, it will move on to the next ring. And maybe it's a slightly larger group called QA machines.
Yeah, this
Um,
is really nice. I mean, anybody in IT who's been around ops for a while, you kind of do this, right? You're not going to deploy to the whole environment all at once, which is kind of what we've been doing, right?
yeah.
With this side of the Tanium tooling, right? So now we have that ability to just to gradually roll that out. This is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a really neat thing. It's the beauty of this is it can be completely hands off. Once you have it configured with your plan, you can not touch it until say you see a problem that you're not sure what's going on. You can pause the promotion. So we by default will give you up to 30 days per ring and a total of 60 days from the first ring to the final ring. And the final ring is always going to be all computers. This is your I'm finishing to make sure everything has the clients and the tools out there as the correct version. So you can configure this so that the first ring will take 2 weeks and the second ring will take a week. And then we have 3 days and a day. So you can slowly stagger it and it'll get faster and faster because if you've gotten to ring 3, things are working rather well and you don't need to hurry up and have a long amount of time before you move forward.
And you've already got 5 rings here. So, two questions. What does it look like when I first come in as a new admin, just seeing this feature turned on for the first time? And then how many rings can I have, or what would I should I have?
Sure. So when you first start up, you're going to have a single ring. It'll be all endpoints. And this will just send all the tools when updates come out in your maintenance, it'll send those tools out to all your endpoints. You can have up to 5 rings by simply clicking edit rings. You can add, remove, delete rings as you see fit. The number of rings really depends on what your requirements are. Some customers need to have a particular number of rings to fit their change management requirements. Some want to have 2 rings or 3. It's very customizable to what you want and what your capabilities are for testing. If you have 5 rings and you've got one person to test all this, might not be as helpful because you don't have the resources to do it. Maybe bring it down to make it a little more simple. But if you do have the ability to go through more rings, then that's great. If you set these up so that they'll be automatically promoted in a time frame that's reasonable for you, that's a great way to set this up so that you can do your testing, know that's going to continue on, and know that all your endpoints are going to actually get tools they need with the ability to pause if something happens.
I'm just thinking like best practices here. I'm just going to guess right off the top of my head, having been in IT for years. So you probably want to send it to a few folks that you know and trust in IT first. Let them test, make sure there's nothing broken. Then maybe like the user population in some change, and then maybe like your critical endpoints more getting to servers, critical servers maybe towards the end, and then just your catch-all. I'm just kind of guessing off the top of my head. Is that kind of the way most people do it? But again, I'm sure it's going to be different for each organization. But
Yeah, that's how most folks are working on setting this up. Is that simple? Let's start off with a known group of machines, and then we're going to grow a little bit. One big caveat I always like to recommend for folks is your initial group is great to have test systems that don't matter, but once you start to look at your second ring, you want to have machines that are actually in use. So if you have nothing but machines that nobody works on for all your testing, and then you go right to production, you might miss something. So it's a good idea to have a few machines are in use on a regular basis. even if they aren't critical machines, but have some actual use and people can see what's happens on them. So I highly recommend build in some. Think about that as you go forward.
All right, so here's an obvious question. So I've got these rings set up, and let's say the second ring, stuff goes bump in the night. How do I know if a deployment is bad?
So there are a handful of different ways you might know this. So you might see, hey, I'm noticing some performance issues on a machine, or a module isn't getting data back that I need to. So I'm expecting to see some information in threat response around my files or my processes with Index or Recorder, and I see that it's not working. If that does happen, you have a couple different options. Number one, you can pause this and you can say, I don't want this to go any farther. I found a problem. I want it to stop. And we'll leave that paused indefinitely until either you manually promote it or a new and fixed version comes up.
Hey, let's go back there for a second. I want to
Sure.
see the pause reason. Need more time or found an issue. So we got two reasons.
Right.
And then does this get logged somewhere?
It's currently logged within Tanium, within the actual audit logs of Tanium. This is kind of we see this as a neat feature in the future for us to, we say, found an issue, and it would be our vision is to provide the option for customer to say, I want to submit a bug, I want to submit a ticket through here to help facilitate when you find a problem for that to go out. So
Mhm.
that's why that's in there. We're also because we can track metrics, we can help understand if we see 5 or 10 customers who have found an issue with a particular version, we can investigate deeper into that for what's going on. We can also, Tanium has the ability to disqualify the toolset. And that's a really cool feature so that if 10 customers find a problem and the other 800 don't know it's there, we can pause that and say, we're going to disqualify this and make sure it doesn't go through any more rings. It's a pretty powerful solution that helps customers feel confident in, I'm going to go ahead and just set these to happen automatically. And if Tanium finds a problem, they're going to stop it for me.
I'm just thinking of the big picture here because what the customers don't see is we have our own internal release rings
Mhm.
before it gets to them.
Yep.
So we have dev and QA and all those typical type release cycles that you would have in any other software company. And we do our best to make sure things are all sparkly clean for you before they get to you. But every now and then something slips through. And so this is your way to find something as well. So you get your own rings on top of the rings that we've already done internally. So when you go to edit these rings, I'm curious. I saw computer groups in here a minute ago. I think if you've used Tanium for 5 minutes, you've had to work with computer groups. So I think most folks get it. So what's the relationship of computer groups here? How many can I have? Things like that.
There's no real limit to the number of computer groups. They just have to fit in within your rings, but you can have multiples assigned to a particular ring. It's easy to do. And the only caveat for computer groups is the end ring will be all computers and you can't change it.
That makes sense because we got it. We can't hold up progress.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, we do have a new feature on the horizon, which
Hmm.
we will be working on soon, that is called the update deferral ring. Let's say you have a set of machines you want that are really sensitive. Maybe it is your executives, or it is key servers that can't be touched during change windows. We're gonna provide an additional ring that you can configure that endpoints will not be affected. So you can pause essentially all tool upgrades, or changes from tool upgrades to client upgrades. The goal with that is to give customers who have more strict or need more time to be able to test or confirm that this is okay. You're able to put those in there, put those machines in there, and they essentially will stay put until either A, you manually upgrade them, or B, you remove them from that computer group and put it back into one of the other rings.
Okay. So now I'm looking at the timing down here. I can pick up to 30 days. And then what else is under days there? We got
Days, hours, and minutes.
minutes. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, that's
So,
ambitious. So 90 minutes on the first test ring. Yeah, or something like that. Then days, hours. Okay.
yep.
So if you hit cancel there, I'm really curious to see. So we've got these little buttons here in the tools that are being changed or unchanged. So if I heard you earlier, the little pause button will say, okay, we found something in this ring. Maybe we need more time, whatever. And then you can unpause it. Then the timer resumes. It'll go to the next ring. But then the little arrow button will, is like, okay, we're not at the end of the time yet, but it looks good to us. We'll just send it on through. Is that what that does?
Absolutely. You may do this for a couple of reasons. You might say, I've done all my testing. This is good. I just want to go ahead and send it. I want to get it done with. Or you might have a bug fix or a change that you really need out more quickly, and you might do your testing and say, I need to hurry this through. If Tanium provides a hot fix for a particular thing, you can actually go and directly apply a hot fix to a ring for specific testing or just to get it deployed and get it out. So we provide a couple ways to get things moving faster if you need them.
Earlier, you said we could set it and forget it,
Mhm.
but sometimes we might see hot fixes come in.
And
So should I just check the screen on a, weekly basis or something?
you don't have to. So the hot fix will be promoted just like any other tool set.
Okay.
And it will move through the rings as it typically would. But if you need to move, if there's a problem that you know of and you want to apply that, you can use that button to make it happen faster.
Okay. So next, I'm really curious to see under these tool changes and unchanged, like what do we get under there?
So this is a neat thing is that um, instead of determining, hey, which tools are, what's different between the two tool sets, I can see these are the only things that have changed. That's all I need to worry about testing. And that's kind of powerful because if you have 10 things, you know that I need to check out threat response, I need to look at client management, I need to make sure integrity monitor works, and the end user notifications for engage or for deploy or patch. It reduces the amount of things you actually have to test. You don't have to see if is everything working or not. You can focus on the pieces that affect you.
So again, these are using internal product type names that wouldn't necessarily be user friendly to everyone. Just looking at this, but some of it you can kind of tell, like there's screen sharing and different things that are kind of named. But like the CX is all the client extensions per module. Okay. So next question, and I was thinking about this morning before we started recording. I was thinking, what if I just want to send the threat response changes through, but not the other changes? Can I do that?
Unfortunately, not. And the reason is, as we're building these bundles, these tool set bundles, we are testing them in their current configuration. So if you wanted to say just send everything but the core CX, those changes might rely on core CX. So this bundle has to go out altogether because that's has been our QA procedure, and to make sure that, as you mentioned earlier, we're testing through our rings. We do a lot of testing to make sure this works. So if you were to pick and choose one thing, you may end up getting something happen that we can't explain or know that was going to happen because it's not all together.
Okay, that makes sense. Because if I could pick and choose, then we're already looking at permutations of how many machines get what tools, and then if break it down farther, only some tools that would really throw a wrench in the works. It sounds like. I'm curious if you scroll up and let's take a look at this. There's another tab here, toolset versions. What's that about?
Yeah, this allows you to see what version of any particular tool is on the is in which tool set. If we go back to upgrade rings, we'll see that we have some tool changes on Core CX. Let's just go find that real quick so we can see.
Oh, I like the filter.
Yeah, so you can see there's a difference between
Mm-hmm.
1.20 and this one. So we actually move over and have some some changes that have happened. We're also working on one thing that is challenging is this is an enormous list. Even though it's great to be here, it's kind of hard to grab and use this. Customers who have used some of our old sensors in the past, the endpoint configuration tool status, that's got tons of information, but again, it's a lot of info. We're working on providing some additional ones that will bring down that and give you this endpoint is healthy, or it's not, or it's upgrading, or it's an error. It'll give you a lot cleaner of these are the 30 endpoints I need to worry about, and we're okay to ignore the other 500,000.
Where I'm thinking this could come in handy, particularly, is normally, especially for our on-prem customers who've been there for a long time, they're used to going into the solutions page and upgrading solutions and
Mm-hmm.
content. But cloud customers, that just happens automatically. But here I'm looking at version numbers that I could go look in the release notes. If I need to give something in writing to change management, I could just look up the versions and the release notes out there on help.tanium.com and you can see what's changing in those as well.
That's a great call, Ashley. But we made it even easier for you. If you go to release notes and search for toolset, we can see some of the actual release notes for the toolset. Where that's really neat is it'll show you the toolset and what fixes and improvements are in there.
Wait, so all right.
There we
In the
go.
past, I would have to go look at every module and the version number. So you're telling me that in this whole bundle of changes, there's release notes that show me everything in that bundle.
That's correct. You,
Oh, I like it.
and you can see that these are just the tools. So you don't have to determine what was a server side change versus what is an endpoint side change. So we can see from a new version that's on the way out, we can look there and see all of the things that were changed, modified on those endpoint tools that are going to be included in that bundle or that hotfix.
Well, we are really in the nerd weeds right now. I'm just thinking about, we have very large, hundreds of thousands of endpoint customers with very strict change control processes who are probably rejoicing at this. And we probably have some very small customers under 10,000 endpoints who just want Tanium to work. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing everybody in between is satisfied here. If you're one of those big shops with really strict change management, you can go as detailed as you want here with who gets it and when they get it and what's changing. But if you're just a simple, a small shop, maybe you've got limited staff and you don't have time to go look at everything Tanium's changing and making better for you behind the scenes, you can just set it and forget it, right? So here's my end users, and then there's my servers, and then everybody else, and done. Maybe it could be that simple.
That's absolutely right. That's the beauty of this is it goes from big to small and from strict to loose change management requirements.
Danny, thank you for coming on the show today to tell us about this new endpoint change management capability. And again, I know our customers have been asking for this for a long time. So here you have it, folks. And again, this is our first release on this. As Danny said, there are more changes coming soon as we make this better. Provide your feedback. As always, through your Tanium channels, whoever you talk to at Tanium, let them know if you have any questions or feedback about this. And the help article that Danny was reading is linked in the show notes below. So there you go, folks. Endpoint change management. Now you can configure your own tooling deployment rings for your Tanium environment. Until next time, go Tanium.